So here's what I want to make clear to everybody. And for those of you who were in my class last semester, you have heard all of this, but the reminder may be useful. For those of you who weren't in my class last semester, most of this, I think, Mr. Barron did as well. But I just want to clarify because this is of great importance to everybody. And that is that the way I grade in this class is dependent 100% on what I see you doing in this classroom when we have class. It's not the same as it is in some of your other classes. It's just not. And so for me, what I find is that when I try to communicate this to people, I typically get one of three reactions. One of the reactions, which is the one that I like the most, is when people are like, finally, a class where I know I can be successful. I don't have to be afraid of failing if I'm willing to try. That is why I grade the way that I do, because I want to encourage people to try without any pressure. I know from my own personal experience that some of the most humiliating times of my life came when I was trying really, really hard to do something right, to do something well, and I couldn't. And I don't ever want you all to feel like that in here. I want you to feel like your best effort in here is absolutely enough to guarantee a passing grade. So that's my starting point. Some of you, when I convey that information, you're like, okay, well, I know what I can do here, and this is gonna work for me, and this is great, and you're happy with it, and that makes me happy as well. But there's always a group of people, and when I explain how I'm gonna grade you and give you points, what you hear is, okay, I don't think maybe I don't have to do anything, or maybe I have to do I'll just do the same thing I've always done. And maybe that's worked, or maybe it hasn't, but I think I should just be okay just doing what I always do. And the thing is, that's not necessarily true. So I want to be really clear about what I'm looking for. I want to see you thoughtfully engaged in the work that we're doing. That's where your points come from. And it's really different from how your work is evaluated in other classes. In some of your classes, you get graded purely on the basis of whether or not you have the right answers written down. So if you have a math class and your math teacher shows you how to, find an unknown in a simple linear equation in algebra, then you have 30 problems to practice, and if you get those right, then you get the points. Or if you take the test and you get those right, then you get the points. And in this class, I'm not really concerned at all about whether you know the right answers. And the reason for that is because the work that we're doing is of such varying complexity. We can talk about the simplest things that I know everybody could understand. We could talk about the most complicated things, which I know nobody can understand, including me. We want to talk about the quantum nature of the chemical bonds that hold DNA together. I'm out. I don't understand that stuff. So there is a level of the stuff that I teach every day that I simply can't understand. What I want is for all of us to find our spot, to find the stuff that we know well, and then find the stuff that we are a little shaky on, and find the place where we can learn the most, and then work there. That's what I want. And I know you all can do it, and I know what it looks like when I see it. What I see is that you are thoughtfully engaged in the work that I'm asking you to do. It means that I hear you, for example, last week when we were talking about DNA, I hear you talking about things like, well, wait, if this DNA strand has these nucleotides, then the other DNA strand is going to have these. Or, okay, wait, how does the translation know when to start? If you have a bunch of DNA, then how does it know when to start putting proteins together on the messenger RNA strand? I'm going to hear things like, okay, wait, I can never remember the difference between mRNA and tRNA. I'll hear things like, wait, why is there a U there? Shouldn't there be a T? That's thoughtful engagement. You're asking questions. You're trying to figure something out. Ultimately, you might not quite get it, and that's okay. Because what happens when you are thoughtfully trying to figure stuff out is you learn, and that's the whole point. I find in this class, in all of my classes actually, that what makes a lot more sense in terms of an analogy is not to compare this to a math class, or to an English class, or to some other science class. What this is most similar to in terms of what I'm looking for is PE. So think about PE for a second. When you go into a PE class, you all come in with different levels of ability. If you are in PE this semester, you might do tennis at some point, right? So some of you play tennis. Some of you are on the tennis team. Some of you aren't on the team, but you're really good. You could go out there right now and absolutely kill it. Do you need somebody to show you how to hold the racket? No, not really. Do you need somebody to show you where to hit the ball, or like how to stand for a two-handed backhand? Like, you don't need any of that. Could you get better? Absolutely you could. Some of you have never set foot on a tennis court. You've never held a tennis racket. You have no idea how to move, where to go, what it feels like to hit a tennis ball. The work that you do in that PE class is going to look really different, but shouldn't you both be able to get a decent grade? I think you should. So what I would expect to see is somebody on the tennis team is working on skills that they're ready to learn. Like maybe you're working on a more powerful serve, or maybe you're working on lobs, or maybe you're working on returning cross-court hits. Those are all great things for you to work on, and you can learn and get better at tennis. Some of you are literally going to just stand there and try to hit, like somebody's going to toss you the ball and you're just going to hit a forehand, and you might not be able to do it. You might not. You might like hit it and your tennis racket does the thing where you hit the ball and it goes, yoink. You're a tennis player, right? Are you? Yeah. Who's a tennis player in here? Raise your hand. CJ? You know the thing where you hit the ball, but it hits too low on the racket, and your racket goes like this, and it doesn't actually go anywhere. It's like a revolving door. That's like it feels all weird and irritating. Yeah. So that's what it may be like. Like you may just not be able to hit the ball over and over and over again. But if you do that, you'll get better. You will improve. Both of those people deserve a decent grade, and that's what I want to see in here. So, so the work that I ask you to do, I'm not looking for the right answers on the piece of paper. Some of you will give me the right answers, and that's great. Some of you aren't there yet. You don't have the background in science or in biology to really understand it. So you're starting from a different spot than somebody who aced life science in 6th grade, or who has a uncle who's a biologist at Oregon State University. You're in different spots. I don't expect the same answers from you, but I expect the same level of engagement, and that's what I'm looking for. It's tricky, because if you fall into old habits, if your habit has been, well, I don't have to do anything and I'll fail, but that's fine, then that's going to continue to be failure. It's not fine, but it's going to continue to be failure. It's not great at all. Some of you think, okay, well, I've figured out how to get a C or a B or even an A. And you're going to do that, but it's not going to get you a C or a B or an A. Because if you're giving me the right answers, but you haven't learned anything, or you haven't thought about anything, then you're not going to earn points for that. I'm not interested in seeing the correct answers written down on a piece of paper. I'm interested in seeing you be thoughtful, and I'm interested in seeing you try to learn. The best way to do it, honestly, is to do the work that I'm asking you to do and have fun doing it. That's what actual scientists do. Real biologists who do this job for a living love their work. They have fun. They find it interesting. They find it thought-provoking. They love it. That's what I'd like to see. And I know that that's a tall ask, because many of you just don't have that interest in biology. But if you want to get the best possible grade, try as hard as you can to find that spot. Try as hard as you can to find something that's reasonably interesting for you to think about in this class. That's what I'm looking for, and that's how you're going to get the grade. So this is all coming up, of course, because I got caught up on grading over the break. And there's many of you who either I don't think you're happy with your grades, whether that's because you're not passing at all, or whether it's because you're the kind of person I think who wants a B or an A, you don't have a B or an A. And many of you, I'm guessing, think, well, it's okay. I'll just turn in the work. I'll just do it later. And the thing is, what I want you to hear is you may not get points, okay? On paper, my syllabus says I do not accept late work, period. In practice, what I've told you is that if you are engaged and thoughtful and learning in class, there's wiggle room. Maybe not full credit, maybe full credit, I don't know. It depends on what you do on a daily basis. It depends on the assignment, depends on what you did that particular day. All of those things play into it. If somebody comes up to me and they say, in fact, this happened earlier today, somebody comes up to me and they say, hey, I got 2 out of 3 on this assignment, what happened? And I say, oh, well, here's the thing. I wanted to see you get a little farther. If you're the kind of person who has been working hard consistently, if you've shown me every day that you're willing to try to learn, then sure, do some more, turn it in, I'll give you the credit. But if what you've done is come in and show me that what you want to do is as little as possible, if you come in and you got your earbuds in and they stay in, what you're telling me is, I don't really care. I just I want to pass maybe, but I'm not going to do the little things that are going to get me there, then I probably won't take your work. I probably won't, because what you're not actually learning. And you can do stuff and turn it in without learning anything. We've talked about that before. And that's what concerns me. What concerns me with you as individuals and what concerns me with our educational system is that there are people who get pass classes or even get really good grades and they haven't learned anything. And there's people who learn a ton and they're not passing their classes. And both of those things, I think, are really bad. Really bad. I think it's an indictment of our educational system that can happen. And I know that in this room right now there are people in that boat. There are people in here who have a reasonably high grade, but you haven't learned as much as you could have. And there are people in here who I think should be passing but aren't. And so that happens. It happens in all of your classes, if you look around this school, there are a lot of people who are in that boat, and that's not okay. So my goal in grading the way that I grade is to try to change that. There was a little bit of a curveball thrown at us because at the beginning of the semester, half of you who were in this class were people that I didn't know and I hadn't worked with. So there's been an adjustment, but now we're cooking. So now I know you, I know what you're capable of, and I'm gonna hold you to the standard of applying yourself thoughtfully in class, which means that if you're not doing that, expect to see that the grades that you get aren't showing perfection. Because for me, perfection is when you use your time thoughtfully for the entire class period. If during that time you figure out some really cool stuff and you're way ahead of the crowd, know more than I do, that is utterly fantastic. If in that time you spend the entire class period thinking and learning about some very basic part of what we're doing, and you don't even get it at the end, but you were trying, you were really working, that is fantastic as well. That is full credit. Trying to figure something out, even if you don't get it by the end of the period, that's full credit. It should be. What I need from you is I need to see you working in class, because that's where you get the points, and I need some evidence. I need you to turn something in, because if you give me nothing, I can't justify the points that I've given you. I can't say, you got a 3 out of 3 on this assignment if I have nothing to show somebody else. And if you give me a piece of paper and it doesn't have very much written on it, something like this, and it just has 3 letters on it, and this is what you turn in, but I worked with you and you were like, I don't understand why this is START. Explain this to me. And we sit and talk about it, and at the end of the class you turn in UAC is START. That's full credit. And if somebody comes to me, Mr. McKee, our principal, comes to me and he says, Mr. Rieger, I don't understand why you gave this student full credit. It seems like what they turned in is just like 3 letters. I can say, yeah, but those 3 letters represent 45 minutes of hard work and learning. We talked about this, and we communicated about this, and this is what they arrived at, and that's why this documentation is good enough for me. And he's okay with that, but I gotta have something. Right now, we're not there. I'm okay with pretty much anything, but I don't think you're all okay with lower grades or failure. I don't want you to be not passing this class. Every single person in here right now is only here because I believe that you have what it takes to pass the class. If I didn't think you could do it, I would have tried to find another spot for you, because it doesn't do you any good to try to pass a class if you're not prepared academically or behaviorally for it. So everybody here can do it. It's just a matter of like recognizing that what I'm asking you to do is a little bit different from what you've seen in the past. And so what I'm gonna show you today is a perfect example of this, because in my mind, what I was thinking is, well, after spring break, people are gonna wanna chat, and what I want is for you to like get back in the groove of school. I get it, it's the first day back after the break, it's after lunch, like we're all ready to go home right now. We're all ready for another spring break. But there's something interesting that you could do while still like checking in with your pals and saying hello to people. There's something you can learn while we're doing this work. And people have devoted their entire careers to the like basic questions that I'm about to present to you. Their entire careers. So some of you may be like, sweet, I'm done after 15 minutes of John with somebody. But that's not thoughtful engagement, right? Like that is going right back to, oh, well, I'm gonna get the work done and turn it in. But if you're not really thinking, and you're not really learning, that's not good enough. So I'm gonna give you a half an hour to think and work, and what I expect to see, for full credit, what I expect to see is you locked in, wondering, asking questions, trying to figure this out, right? So here's the assignment. It's to talk to other people in the class. You're not gonna be able to talk to everybody. I don't want you to do this in groups. And by that, what I mean is, I don't want it to be the kind of thing where 5 of you work together and 1 of you is just writing down information. If you wanna do it as a herd, that's okay. You can herd up with your fellow classmates and then walk around, but all of you should be writing some stuff down. All of you should be asking questions. The information that I want you to gather is essentially gonna be a data table, a tally, right? And what I want you to ask is, for the other students in this classroom, as many as you can talk to, what do they look like? And in particular, we're gonna be looking at some kind of interesting traits, which are things that like organisms like have, things that they show, behavioral characteristics, or even genetic or biochemical characteristics. The first one is earlobe attachment, and here's the kind of thing that I just think is really fascinating. I once won a game of 2 truths and a lie by saying that one of my earlobes is attached and one of them isn't. And nobody believed that that could be true, but look at me. You can see it right now, can't you? This one is more attached, this one is less attached. They're not like 100%. It's not like one of them is, cemented to the side of my head and the other is like an elephant ear. But if you look, you can see like this one is more attached, and by attached, we just mean the angle is more like this. And this one, the angle is more like this. So one of them is a U and one of them is just a slash. And that's kind of interesting, because what in the heck? So that's one trait that I want you to look at. Another trait is one that I can no longer effectively demonstrate, and it has to do with the way your hair comes together toward the center of your forehead. If it just kind of, like makes a gentle curve, then you do not have what's called a widow's peak. If it comes together in kind of a point, a V, then you do. And the only way to tell is to pull your hair back. You have to pull it back and see how it comes down on your forehead. Tongue rolling, this is something, some people can make it like a W shape. Some people can roll their tongues like this, but they can't do it if they don't use their lips. And some people can roll their tongue and actually do it even without touching it with their lips. So that's kind of a cool thing to think about. But some people can't. Some people, no matter how hard they try, just comes out, and that's it. There's no rolling. And same with folding, which is this. It's like that. So it kind of folds back like this. And some people can do it, and some people can't. And some people it's more dramatic, and some people it's less dramatic. The fifth trait, this is the one that to me is the most subtle. If you hold your hands like this and kind of pull your pinkies out, what does this look like right here? Is it sort of curved or bent in? Mine is slightly curved or bent in, but not dramatically. Some of you are going to see that your pinky it's really kind of a sharp angle. You know, it's going to look sort of more like this. And mine is sort of in between. So that's a little bit of a judgment. Like you're going to have to sort of determine at what point does somebody have a bent pinky at what point do they have a straight pinky. The next one involves these taste strips. And so you don't have to do this. It's certainly not poisonous. There's nothing. It's an utterly harmless chemical substance. It's found in many natural foods that we eat. But some of us can taste it, and the flavor. If I'm a taster. To me, it just tastes kind of bitter. It's not horrible. It's not like the worst thing you've ever experienced. It's not, but it's just sort of an unpleasant, bitter taste. And some people taste nothing at all. It's just a piece of paper that has no taste to it. So it's this chemical. The abbreviation is PTC, and I can't remember what that stands for. It's related to the cilantro thing, yeah. And then mid-digital hair, so that's this part of your finger. If you have hair on this part, in between your two knuckles, then you have mid-digital hair. If you don't, you don't. Curly versus straight hair, again, that's not one that I can really demonstrate anymore. My hair used to be straight when I had it. And then long versus short eyelashes. And again, that's a judgment call, right? Because there's going to be all sorts of lengths. But in general, you'll be able to look at people and say long versus short eyelashes. You're not going to get to everybody in the class. You'll be able to get to most of the people in the class. But what I want is for you to spend a good, we're going to be done at 1:20, I think. So what I would like is for you to spend 15 minutes interviewing other people, making data tables, and then I'll let you know when it's time to work on reflection questions and get your work turned in. Mostly what I want you to be doing is thoughtfully learning about these genetic traits and about the different appearances that they have. And we'll start speculating about why that might be in class on Wednesday, right? Okay, so you can go ahead and get to work. Your grade is going to come from what I see in here today.